One day I finished my work very late, and I couldn't wait for public transport. Because at that time, transport is non-existent. I took my phone and ordered an Uber, but I found the nearest car was still about 15 minutes away. And I noticed the taxi I always see parked in that same spot in front of the company. So I had no other choice but to ride with him. And indeed, I got in right away because the weather was very cold. And as soon as I got in, the driver moved. And since the road from work to home takes about 20 minutes, and inside the taxi it was also warm, I found myself drifting off to sleep. And I stayed asleep until I was startled by a very loud thud that shook the taxi. I was alarmed and looked around me, but there was nothing there at all. I asked the driver what happened. He told me that nothing at all had happened. And when I looked at my phone, I found that nearly half an hour had passed. I looked at the street. I found myself on the street right after the work street. In here I snapped out of it and I said to the driver, "How did half an hour pass while we're still here?" He replied coldly and said, "It's normal. The important thing is we arrived, sir." I was puzzled by his words and looked around me again. I found myself actually in front of the building where my home is. So I was surprised and whispered to myself that maybe I wasn't focused because I was exhausted from work. And after this distraction, I paid the driver and got out. And when I got out, I remembered that I left my bag in the taxi. And thank God I caught him before he drove off. I took my bag and entered the building. I got into the elevator, and no sooner had the elevator door closed than the power went out. I pounded my hands on the door, saying nervously, "Is this really the time for this?" In the name of God, and with his... Let's start the episode. In the name of God. This episode is a true story that actually happened, which is Cur, a new story from the series of listeners' experiences and tales. Your tales. Let's start today's episode and say in the name of God. Like this, and from all the fatigue and lack of sleep, I can't open my eyes. Even the laptop bag I'm wearing for the first time, I feel it's so heavy like this. But thank God, not a minute passed and the power came back on, and the elevator started working. And instead of going up to the 3rd floor, I found it past it, and went to the 5th and stopped, and the door opened. I kept pressing the 3rd floor button, but the elevator wouldn't move. In here I said, "That's it, this just tops it off, and I will walk down these 2 floors on my own feet, of course." But as soon as I got out of the elevator, I saw it close and go down. And as it went down, I looked ahead and I found that all the apartment doors on this floor were open. And the apartments were pitch black. Even the hallway light kept flickering on and off. I said, "Okay, these things happen." And I went down to my floor and entered my apartment. And as soon as I entered, I went to my room, threw my bag on the office chair, and collapsed on the bed. After that, I didn't feel anything until I felt a hand stroking my hair. I shook my head and went back to sleep. And in just seconds, I felt the same hand a second time. I sat up and looked behind me, but I didn't find anything. At that time, my room was dark, but the prayer light I always leave on was inside. But suddenly, it went off and everything became pitch black to me. I thought maybe there was a problem with the faulty light that kept flickering. And before I closed my eyes, I heard movement in the room. It was the sound of footsteps, as if someone was walking back and forth by the bed. I reached out to the nightstand next to me and grabbed my phone. I turned on the flashlight and shone it around while looking about. There wasn't anyone there, but at the same time I heard the same sound. That movement was in the hallway. I got up and opened the room door. I went out to the hall, shining my phone in all directions. I thought maybe a cat had entered the apartment, but I didn't see anything at all. Just as I was about to go back to my room, I caught a glimpse. Someone walked past me, and their body was massive. I quickly aimed my phone's light where they were, but I didn't find them. Suddenly, I heard the sound of the light switch. It was like someone was pressing it. The prayer light turned on by itself in pulses. My heart raced, my blood ran cold. And here, I felt breaths behind me. I turned my head slowly to see exactly whose breaths these were, but my hand trembled and the phone fell from me. My heart was about to stop and my legs felt heavy. All this was because I saw a massive entity. A black entity covered in hair, with red eyes, a huge mouth stretching from its right ear to its left, and many sharp teeth. My eyes widened to their limit and I kept backing away from it. It kept coming closer to me until it was very near. My breathing quickened. I felt like I was choking and my soul was slipping away. Everything kept getting darker around me. Darker. And all I remember from that time is the fall I took to the ground. Afterward, when I woke up, it was morning. I was lying on the ground in the same spot I remember before I passed out. I sat up, looking around in terror. I found the house completely trashed, and nothing was in its place. My head was very heavy and I couldn't comprehend what had happened. All I did was get up and go to the bathroom. I kept splashing water on my face. After that, I went out to the hall and looked at the mess. I didn't understand anything and I kept thinking about what happened. That was when I spotted my phone on the floor. When I picked it up, I found over 32 missed calls from my friend Kareem. I called him back, and as soon as he answered, he kept yelling, very agitated. After some shouting and confused speech, he calmed down a little and said to me, "Honestly, I was wrong to even call you." "Kareem, calm down please and speak slowly. I don't understand anything from you. I have enough on my plate as it is." "Oh, just wait until you find out that you're getting fired from work too." "What do you mean, fired from work?" "You know that we are in a very critical period, one that will change the entire course of the company, meaning no one can be late or even slack off for a single minute. Yet you didn't come to work today, and that's despite me calling you since early morning and you're acting as if you're dead in a grave." I was listening to him, bewildered, and when I looked at the clock, I saw it was 2:00 p.m. I told Kareem then that I didn't know what happened, and that I would be at the company immediately to apologize to the manager for this lost day. And indeed, within minutes I was dressed, and I went out to the street. I found many taxis, but not a single car would stop for me. That's why I requested an Uber more than once, but every car would reach my location, drive off immediately, and cancel the trip. It kept going like that until it was 2:45 p.m. and Kareem kept calling me while I was afraid to answer him, until I found a friend of mine on a motorcycle. So I stopped him and asked him to take me to work urgently. He was looking at me with strange expressions, but I didn't pay any attention. When I arrived at the company and thanked him, I went in immediately. As I entered, I found Kareem right. In front of me, he looked like he wanted to kill me. And as soon as he saw me, his expression of anger turned into one of shock. "What is that? What is on your face, Omar?" I put my hands on my face as I said, What's wrong with my face?" He cut me off and told me now was not the time. He grabbed my arm and took me to the manager's office. Even before I went in, he asked me to fix what I had done. I reassured him and told him I would know how to handle it. I knocked on the office door. The manager then allowed me to enter. As soon as I walked in, I said in a pleading tone, "I know, sir, that you are upset with me, and that my absence today has affected so many things at work. but I swear to God that it was beyond my control. Yesterday I got very sick and fainted, and when I woke up I saw it was 2 o'clock p.m. I am very sorry, sir. I really don't know what happened to me. But as I was speaking, the manager's eyes were darting over every part of my face, and there were looks that were not unfamiliar. They were almost the same looks as my friends this morning and Kareem's a little while ago. With those looks, he spoke quite calmly and said, "It's all right, Omar. The important thing is that you're okay. I will give you a week's leave until you get better. You are a hard-working employee and a real asset to the company. And this past period, you've been under a lot of pressure." After he said that, the office door knocked and the secretary came in with work. The manager got busy, so I left and went out. After I exited, I found Kareem sitting at his desk. I went over to him, putting my hands on my face, and said, the manager's reaction was really strange. He didn't get angry at me and even gave me a week's leave. I didn't see any shock at what happened on Kareem's face, as if he had expected it. The strangest thing was that he looked at me and said, I didn't answer him and went into the office restroom. I looked at myself in the mirror, and as soon as I saw my face, I knew the reason for everyone's stares. My eyes were very red, and there were so many blue lines all over my face. I was shocked by my appearance. I kept washing my face over and over, but what was on it wouldn't go away. While I was confused and trying to understand what happened, I heard a knock on the bathroom door, and the one knocking was Kareem, who asked me to come out. I turned off the faucet and grabbed some tissues. I kept wiping the water off my face. My eyes were still fixed on my reflection in the mirror, until I felt those lines moving. Then my face even started to change. Kareem's knocking broke my concentration, so I left the bathroom and told him, buddy, I don't know what's wrong with me. Since yesterday, strange things have been happening to me, and I truly don't understand the reason. He took me by the hand and we went to sit at his desk. And after we sat down, he tried to reassure me when he told me, don't worry, it's just a normal skin problem. I'll tell you about a very good ointment for these things. In a few days, it will disappear. And besides, you're so lucky. The manager gave you a week of sick leave. I wish I were you. Kareem, yesterday I heard movement in the apartment. And I also saw a creature that looked very terrifying. That's why I fainted and woke up late. Omar, for goodness sakes, you don't have to make things up. Besides, I already got out of it. I'm not going to ask you, man, about the real reason. It is the real reason, by the way. I'm not making it up. You look so exhausted and really need to rest. What is up with you, man? Are you living in a horror movie or what? I looked at him in despair and realized that talking was no use. So I left him to be sarcastic on it, and I left the company. I bought a mask to hide my face, because apparently the drivers were scared of how I looked. That's why they wouldn't stop. And indeed, at that moment, I got a ride easily and went home. I felt like my body was broken, and I was even struggling to breathe. I ordered food from outside, and I waited until it arrived. And I ate, and I found myself wanting to sleep so badly. I went to bed, and the day passed very normally. And the next day I woke up and tidied everything up. And I found Kareem calling me too. He asked that we go out together at night to change the mood. And we actually went out, and the day was nice. And I started to forget everything that happened. Even what was on my face started to go away too. And thank God, I said that what happened was truly from fatigue and exhaustion, because I am the person the manager relies on most to work, and he had been piling a lot of work on me lately. But on that same day at night, I woke up from sleep to a very terrible pain in my chest. I couldn't catch my breath, and as soon as I woke up, the pain was gone, and I was able to breathe well. I rubbed my eyes with my hand, and I grabbed my phone to see what time it was. I found it was 2 o'clock at night. I turned off my phone. I was just about to go back to sleep. I heard a sound coming from the kitchen. It was the sound of pots banging together. I got up and left the room. I walked with very slow steps toward the kitchen. until I reached the door. And before entering, I slowly poked my head in to see what was there. And with what I saw, my heart dropped to my stomach. The same terrifying creature was sitting on the floor with all the pots and dishes scattered around it. It was sitting on its hands and feet, and in front of it was a very large pot. I couldn't see what was inside it, but it was something he was eating. I knew that because the sound of him eating was disgusting and very loud. With everything I saw, I began to back away, very quietly. And just before I got away from the kitchen door, I tripped on the rug and fell to the floor. At that exact moment, the sound that creature was making stopped, and I saw him coming on his hands and feet. His mouth was dripping blood onto the floor. This sight is stuck in my head. I kept crawling backward and moving on my hands and feet while he was getting closer to me, until I got up quickly and ran into my room and locked the door behind me with the key. After that, I went quickly to the desk. I grabbed my phone and found Kareem's number. I called him. As soon as he heard my voice, he was startled. And before I could even say anything, the signal cut out completely. I tried calling him again, but it was no use. But then I heard the sound of scratching on the room door. My whole body was shaking. I didn't know what to do. I kept reciting Quran out loud until the scratching sound disappeared. When I calmed down, I got up, slowly opened the door, and went out. And what I saw was nothing. Yes, there was absolutely nothing there. I swallowed hard and dropped to my knees on the floor. That was because my legs couldn't hold me up anymore. I put my hand on my heart and started to breathe slowly. Suddenly, I felt something crawling on my neck. When I reached up and pulled it off, I found it. It was a spider. I shuddered and threw it away. At that same moment, I felt the same sensation again, but on my hands and legs. When I looked at my body, I found there were so many of them. I quickly got up, went into the bathroom, and turned on the water, but it was off. The biggest disaster was finding many insects pouring in through the bathroom door, and they all crawled onto me. I kept jumping around to get them off me. I ran out of the bathroom screaming. I fell onto the floor in the living room feeling like they were eating me alive. My voice was gone from all the screaming. My body was literally feeling electric shocks. But in the midst of all that, I saw him. He was standing by the bathroom door, smiling a terrifying smile. And with his appearance, those insects vanished from off me. I couldn't help but scream at him, "Who are you? Who are you? And what do you want from me?" He kept laughing so much. Suddenly, there was a knock at the apartment door. I got up quickly and opened it. It was Kareem, and he had someone else with him. The moment Kareem saw me, he was shocked by my appearance. He quickly entered the apartment with the person he brought, and as they came in, I felt the world spinning around me, and I fainted. When I woke up, Kareem was sitting next to me. I told him everything that happened to me. He appeared to be afraid. As for the man I saw with him, he was standing looking around the apartment. Because of his stares, I looked at Kareem, who told me that he was a sheikh, and he brought him along because when I talked to him, my voice was shaky and the call cut off. He knew that the matter was serious, so he asked about him and brought him here. And while we were talking, the sheikh went into the bedroom and kept looking everywhere in it, and finally, he came out and told me that I was harmed by something, and that thing is inside the room. I was surprised by his words for two reasons. The first is that I have no enemies, and the second is that no one even enters my apartment at all, and I have no friends other than Kareem. Because of this surprise, I looked at Kareem and said to him, "Someone who? No one enters my apartment except for you." After saying this, he looked sad, and he said to me, "So you suspect me, say?" I am now suspecting even myself. I wonder, is the sheikh you brought here to finish what you started, or what is this story? Come on, Omar, have you gone crazy or what? I now know your life. You are the reason for everything I'm going through. And that is, of course, because you are just jealous of me, but it seems you've really gone completely crazy. Yes, I am crazy. And now take this man and get out. As soon as I said that to him, he looked at the man who was with him, and he actually took him and left. And after he left, I felt like there was something in my head. There was a buzzing sound, and along with it, a horrible noise. I closed my eyes. I don't know how I fell asleep, but when I opened my eyes, I found myself sitting on a chair. My hands and feet were tied in a place full of sand and dirt, and there was fire burning all around me. And in front of me, someone was sitting with a lot of bones in front of him. Without a word, he brought them, he made a circle with them around me, and disappeared from my sight for a while. And suddenly I felt blood pouring onto my head. I kept screaming and trying to untie myself, but I couldn't. And with my screams, the person who did this to me appeared. His face seemed familiar. I had seen him before, but I don't remember exactly where. His eyes were full of evil. He came closer to me while saying words in a very strange language, and he kept walking around me. And all at once he went down to the ground in front of me, and kept digging in the sand, until he pulled out a large cloth. And as soon as he opened it, a very foul smell came out. At that moment, when I saw what was inside, I couldn't help but vomit. As for what I saw, in the cloth it contained a black pig's head. He brought it and placed it on top of my head, and he took a small stick out of the pocket of the robe he was wearing, and he kept hitting the pig's head with it, and some very disgusting things started dripping from it onto my head. I felt my body itching, as if there were a lot of insects crawling on me. And suddenly I had a seizure and kept convulsing. I felt unbearable pain until I heard a sound from afar. It was the sound of the Quran. Then the pain began to subside until it vanished. I fainted as well. When I opened my eyes, I found myself on my bed with Kareem and the sheikh around me. I felt many sharp pricks and thorns, so many thorns all over my body. The sheikh was reciting the Quran and saying supplications, and every time his voice rose, I felt those thorns increasing in my body. Suddenly the sheikh went silent and walked to the desk. He grabbed my bag that was on the chair in front of him and opened it. He took out the laptop, and after that he pulled out a black plastic bag. He held it in his hand, approached me, and asked me about it. Since I wasn't able to speak, I signaled to him that I didn't know. After he looked at me and at the bag with wide eyes, he asked Kareem to bring him a lighter and also a bowl of cold water. When Kareem brought them, he put the bag on the tiles and set it on fire. As soon as it caught fire, thick black smoke began to pour out of it. As for me, at that very moment, I felt a very heavy weight on my chest. Along with that feeling, I felt something stuck in my throat, to the point that I started choking, and I wasn't able to breathe. At that moment, the sheikh rushed over to me. He placed his hand on my head, and his other hand he placed on my chest, and he continued reciting the Quran. In the middle of his recitation, I sat up suddenly. I started vomiting, and clumps of black blood came out. I felt like my soul was being pulled out of me, and my eyes were also completely blurred, until I felt cold water being poured over me. After that, I didn't feel anything anymore. When I woke up, I was in the hospital, and Kareem was by my side. I felt that all my bones were aching, and my throat felt like it was on fire. I tried to speak and ask Kareem what had happened. The answer to my question was that the sheikh told Kareem I had been bewitched, and that this magic was placed inside my bag. The ritual was meant to cause madness and illness, It was done on a picture of me and several other things. It was also wrapped in several pieces of cloth and put inside several bags. But thank God the sheikh broke the spell and treated me. But the matter didn't end there. I still need time to fully recover. After what he told me, I apologized to Kareem for what I did and that I had doubted him. In all honesty, he was very forgiving toward me, because he knew that everything that happened was out of my control, and that I was under the influence of the magic. As for what happened after I kicked him out that day, he didn't leave. He kept standing outside. And as soon as he heard me screaming, he came in to help me with the sheikh. After what happened to me, and because of Kareem's talk about magic, I remembered the day everything started. The day I got into the taxi. And then I remembered that the taxi driver's face was the same as the man I saw while I was tied up. That's why I had Kareem find out who that was, because I remembered the taxi's number very well from how often I used to see it in front of the company. And he was able to find out that this person's name is Imad, and he was working my place before the company. But he was fired because he was negligent in his work. After a few months, I fully recovered, thank God. I insisted on meeting the Imad guy. When I met him, he seemed very surprised. I realized he was shocked that I was still alive and doing well. I let him know that I knew everything. He told me he had been following me everywhere to take his revenge, all because I took his position through nepotism, and that every day he would wait in front of the company until the chance came and he'd put that charm in my bag. He wouldn't admit that he was fired because of his negligence. And by the way, yes, I got the job through connections, but I proved myself. Otherwise, my fate would have been exactly like his. I mean, instead of busy watching me and waiting to trap me, he could have worked on himself. But unfortunately, his eyes were blinded by the delusions and obsession with nepotism. For the record, I couldn't forgive him. But when I realized he wasn't happy in his life and hatred filled his heart, I knew he would be the cause of his own misery. And justice would be served without me even doing anything. I actually went back to work, got married, and forgot all about him. But over time, while talking to Kareem, I learned that Imad died in a taxi accident. May God forgive him. That's it, Mr. Muhammad. And that is the whole story. And so today's episode and story come to an end. You have the right, my friend, to believe or disbelieve all or part of this episode. These are the listeners' experiences, your own stories. Yeah. I thank the writer Basmala Labib for writing this episode in the radio style you just heard. I also thank the writer Muhammad Shaban for preparing all the episodes of the General of Horror program. In the end, if you are new to the channel, please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to receive all that is new. And if you are one of those who like to support me, please don't forget to like, comment, and share. Thank you very much. You were with Muhammad Goueli and the General of Horror program. Goodbye.